Right guys, we have more juicy iPhone 13 leaks to delve into. We have information about 1TB iPhones, optical fingerprint scanners, and a thinner notch. Again, these leaks just keep on coming even though I am still very adamant on no smaller notch. But anyways, we'll get to that. Make sure to like and subscribe, click that bell notification for the latest Apple news and rumors. And with that being said, let's just tuck in. Right, so let's begin with Jon Prosser's leaks. He has an accuracy of 79% on Apple Track, so he is by far one of the top dogs in the Apple leaking world. And so that's why it's surprising that Jon mentions that yes, the iPhone 13 could have 1TB of storage, but also could have a thinner notch. Right, so before I delve into the whole notch kerfuffle, let's talk about storage. So apparently the Pro End versions of the 2021 iPhones could max out to 1TB, and honestly I have no clue who actually needs this. Like seriously, I can't even max out 64 gigs, so yeah, 1TB is a little excessive, and also it's gonna be insanely expensive. But to those out there downloading all kinds of things on your phone, yes, you can have 1TB of storage on the Pro versions of the 2021 iPhones. Now, of course, some of you may be wondering, why not us broke boys? Why can't we have 1TB of storage? Well, here's the thing. 1TB of storage is something the masses don't need. The iPhone 12 and the 12 mini are the phones for most people, and most people just go for the base 64 gig version, and they're completely fine with that. And also, think about it, as someone who needs 1TB of storage, you're going to be an enthusiast because you're downloading all kinds of crap on your phone, but also you're someone with tons and tons and tons of money, and so you're most likely someone who's looking to flex with those Pro models. And of course, a good point Jon makes is that of course by restricting the amount of storage available on the iPhone 12 and 12 mini, Apple can sell subscriptions, they can sell iCloud storage, and of course that is a huge source of revenue to Apple. And so yes, restricting storage on the base models, the phones that most people will buy, that makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. So yes, 1TB iPhones coming to the Pro models, although I don't think most of you really are going to be buying 1TB phones. If you are, tell me in the comments below, what exactly are you using 1TB on a phone for? I am actually genuinely curious. Anyways, let's now delve into the part of this report that I'm unsure about, and that is the thinner notch. So basically, Jon says that instead of the notch being narrower, Apple's thinking of making the notch shorter instead. So Ice Universe actually posted this a long time ago and thought we'd see this with the iPhone 12. We obviously didn't, so maybe Apple's pushed it for the iPhone 12s, the iPhone 13, whatever they end up calling it. Anyways, if you've been on this channel for quite some time, you might know my stance on this. Obviously, I think this is very, very unlikely. Now, yes, I know that Jon has seen internal prototypes with this notch style, and I believe him, but of course, Apple's always testing different things internally, but closer to launch, they start killing off things that they don't see as being viable. And basically, it's because Apple knows that most consumers don't care about the notch getting slightly smaller or slightly narrower. It's just something they don't give a damn about. I mean, I remember all the tech enthusiasts saying that iPhones are doomed by having a thick-ass notch in 2020, and yes, I think it doesn't look that great in 2020 when Android manufacturers have moved on. Apple's keeping the same front design since, of course, 2017. And it's not because Apple's lazy, it's because they know most consumers don't care about the notch. They don't see it as a nuisance, and so there's no point putting the R&D into making the notch ever so slightly smaller for a small group of their consumer base to, get gassed about. For example, Apple has sold a record-breaking 90.1 million iPhone 12s with the humongous fat notch in the space of 3 months. 3 months, 90 million phones. That's insane, and that goes to show that nobody cares about the notch, and so it makes more sense to keep it as long as possible till they can eventually remove it in one go as under-display technology gets better. So yes, I know that John Prosser is a very credible leaker, but I do think these prototypes with smaller notches will stay as prototypes, and the 2021 iPhones will retain the notch, and I am not budging. I've just realized I'm gonna look like a clown if I'm wrong, but yeah, no, I am still firm on my stance. The notch is not getting smaller, I think, but I'm still pretty sure. Anyways, moving on, let's delve into my final juicy leak of the day, and that is the optical fingerprint scanner coming to the iPhone 13. So of course, we've known for quite a while the iPhone 13s will be gaining a new Touch ID sensor because of course, in the COVID days we live in, we need a fingerprint scanner, and so Apple is planning to use that as a secondary form of biometrics. But up until now, we haven't really known which exact technology Apple will use. Now, of course, the simple answer would be that Apple just takes the iPad Air scanner and puts it on the iPhone. So a scanner built into the power button. That does seem plausible, but at the same time, I'm not sure how practical that would be on a phone. Because obviously, as someone who lives life on the edge and is part of Team Naked, not myself, the phone is naked. But anyways, because I don't use a case on my phone, having a fingerprint scanner built into the power button is actually really, really convenient, as you can see. But of course, a majority of you guys aren't as reckless as me and use a very bulky case on your phone. And so having a fingerprint scanner on the side with a case is going to be a pain to use. And so ultimately, Apple going for an in-display scanner on the iPhone 13 makes a lot more sense. But unfortunately, there are different variants to in-display scanners out there. So the two main options in the industry are optical scanners and ultrasonic scanners. So I believe an optical scanner is incredibly fast and it uses cameras and lights and all sorts of things to create an image of your finger. But you see, the slight issue with optical scanners is that, yes, they are incredibly fast and work very well, but they're very easy to fool. And so you can use a 2D image of someone's finger and get into their phone, which is not good. That is very bad, in fact. Now, of course, Samsung uses ultrasonic scanners on their phones instead, which essentially creates small sound waves to make a 3D map of your fingerprint. So it's a more secure version that can't be fooled and works if your fingers are pretty wet. But again, the issue with ultrasonic scanners is that A, they're incredibly expensive, but two, they don't seem to work as reliable as optical scanners in terms of accuracy and speed. Of course, Apple now has to decide, do we want a scanner that's really fast but compromises on security, or a scanner that's more expensive and works slightly slower but is more secure? And well, Apple's actually went for the former allegedly. So Joanna Stern, who is a journalist for the Wall Street Journal, she's great by the way, I love her reviews, but she apparently has connections now with Apple and is leaking things, and essentially said that a former employee has been apparently telling her that Apple's working on optical scanners for the future iPhone, and his reasoning for Apple going with this is because they are ultimately more reliable than ultrasonic scanners. So yes, it's weird that Apple is compromising on security for a fast and more responsive experience, but I guess it makes sense because of course Touch ID is going to be the secondary way of authenticating, and obviously Face ID will remain to be the number one solution. So yes, I think Apple's going to continue to push Face ID if you want the most secure experience, but for people who want convenience when they're outside with their masks, Touch ID and this optical scanner will make do. Now, if you are worried about the lack of security, then there is a silver lining, because Joanna Stern does say that her source has told her that whichever technology Apple adopts, it will be as good as Touch ID Gen 2 on, of course, the iPhone SE 2020 and older iPhones. And actually, there is technology that combines the aspects of optical scanners and capacitive scanners, and so there is a possibility that maybe Apple could use that technology instead. Either way, we should be getting a Touch ID scanner of some sort on the next iPhones, and that alone gets me quite hyped. Though one thing that nobody's mentioned and gets me a little worried is that no one has said whether this feature will be exclusive to the Pros or not. So obviously Apple can take two directions with this situation. Either they be generous and give everyone the beauty of Touch ID in this pandemic, or B, they see it as, hey, this is an opportunity to get people buying the Pros with the higher margins and make more money. So yes, I hope it's standard, but at the same time, it's a pretty bloody good idea to make it a feature on the Pros, because I would buy the Pros just for Touch ID, and I'm sure a lot of people would. So yeah, it seems like an opportunity that Timothy might take advantage of. But tell me in the comments below, assuming the prices stay the same as the iPhone 12, would you buy the Pros for Touch ID alone? Because I definitely would, but I want to hear what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below. Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click that bell notification for the latest Apple news and rumors. Check out a video here in the icon above about AirPods Pro 2 coming very, very soon. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.